Bom dia.
Good morning, Mr. Morgans Likatov, the chairman of the 70th Eliasson, Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations. Ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and heads of government attending the United Nations Conference for the post-2015 development agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the attending delegations, ladies and gentlemen at large. The 2030 agenda sketches out the future we all want. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals reaffirm the principle underlying the Rio Plus 20 conference, that yes, it is indeed possible to grow, to include, to preserve, and to protect. As such, they set clear-cut and truly universal targets and highlight the need for further cooperation among peoples of the world and show humankind a shared path ahead. This innovative agenda requires global solidarity and a determination on the part of each and every one of us, plus a commitment to face up to and tackle climate change by overcoming poverty and building opportunities for all. We must strengthen the climate convention by ensuring that their principles be implemented and respected. Our obligations should be ambitious and consistent with the principle of shared but differentiated responsibilities. The upcoming Paris conference is a unique opportunity for us to build a joint common response to the global challenge of climate change. Brazil has made a major effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions without nevertheless impairing our social and economic development, i.e. social inclusion. To that end, we have been diversifying the renewable sources in our energy mix, one of the world's cleanest energy mixes. We are currently investing in low-carbon agriculture, and we have reduced deforestation in the Amazonian region by 82%. You may all be assured that a sense of ambition will continue to guide our actions. I thus wish to announce on this occasion that by 2025, Brazil's contribution to reduce greenhouse gas emissions will get to 37%. For 2030, our ambition is to get to a 43% reduction level. May I remind us all that in both cases the baseline year is 2005. It is pretty much in that context that by 2030 Brazil intends to, as regards the land use and agriculture and livestock, it is our intention to, number one, put an end to illegal deforestation in Brazil. Number two, we intend to ensure proper restoration and reforestation of 12 million hectares. Third, commitment to ensure recovery of 15 million hectares of degraded pasture lands. Fourth, commitment to ensure integration of 5 million hectares of agriculture, crop, livestock, and forestry practices. On the energy front, it is also our intention to engage in the following ambitious objectives. Number one, to ensure 45% of renewable sources of energy in the overall energy mix. It should be noted that the world's average is of just 13% as regards the share of renewable sources of energy in the energy mix, and for the OECD countries no more than 7%. Second commitment on the energy agenda, a share of 66% of hydro sources in electricity generation. Third commitment, a share of 23% of renewable sources, i.e. wind, solar, and biomass in electrical energy generation. Fourth commitment on the energy agenda, an increase of about 10% in electrical efficiency. Fifth, a share of 16% of fuel, ethanol, and other sources of energy derived from sugarcane in the overall energy mix. In conclusion, the adaptation measures that are required in view of climate change are being followed in land use, forestry practices, livestock, agriculture, energy, production and consumption patterns. The 13th Sustainable Development Goal is such that our stance on this agenda will certainly contribute to improve the environment, and Brazil is thus decisively contributing to ensure that the world will be in a position to implement the recommendations made by the Climate Change Panel, which set a maximum limit of 2 degrees Celsius in temperature increase for this century. Brazil is one of the few developing countries to take on an absolute target for reducing emissions. We have one of the world's largest populations and GDPs, and our goals or targets are just as or more ambitious than those of developed countries. Our national climate change plan envisages mitigation and adaptation measures, as well as the need to ensure funding, technology transfer, and capacity building. It includes actions that will increase environmental resilience and reduce the risks associated to the negative effects of climate change on the poorest and most vulnerable populations, with special attention being given to gender issues, workers' rights, the rights of indigenous communities, former runaway slave communities, and traditional communities. We fully recognize the importance of South-South cooperation in the global effort to tackle climate change. I wish to stress that the social and inclusive dimension is an integral and cross-cutting part of these efforts. Since 2003, social policies and income transfer policies have helped ensure that more than 36 million Brazilians were able to overcome extreme poverty. Last year, Brazil was taken out of the World Hunger Map. It should be reminded that we were only to achieve that status following a program called Zero Hunger, the Zero Hunger Program, which has now evolved to become one of the SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals. Thanks to our policy of appreciating the value of the minimum wage, the population's purchasing power has grown in recent years. We have experienced substantial social progress in housing programs, access to basic education, public health issues, gender equality. We have achieved these results because we have clearly understood that poverty is a multidimensional phenomenon. The transition to a low-carbon economy, we believe that in the transition towards a low-carbon economy, we believe that decent and fair conditions should be ensured to all workers involved. Sustainable development requires that all of us work to promote decent labor and create quality jobs while ensuring opportunities and access to education and healthcare services. Even while facing difficulties, Brazil will not go back in the social gains. And that is the future we wish, in the future we are all working to build. The effort to overcome poverty and promote development must be collective and global in scope, hence the importance of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. In my country, we know one thing and a lesson we have learned all too well. We know pretty well that the end of poverty, putting an end to extreme poverty, is just the start of a long path. Thank you very much.
I thank